Six Flags Over Texas has just announced their newest coaster for 2026. And guess what? It's a Giga coaster. Yes, a Giga, a 300-footer. Wow, Six Flags, you know what? Good on you. I know you've had a few major hiccups over the last year, still not forgiving you for King to Ka, by the way, but a 309-foot tall coaster. I have to say, that's impressive. And constructing it at Six Flags Over Texas, of all places, the original Six Flags park, that's the cherry on top. This park has been needing some love. Trust me when I say this, I genuinely can't wait to experience this ride when it opens next. Oh, it's a dive coaster. You know what? Take back everything I said.
What is this shit?
Yeah, go ahead, boo me. Leave your hate comments down below. Don't worry, I feed off them. Shocker, I am not too excited that this ride is going to be a dive coaster. Ooh, Great American Coaster is coming in hot with a controversial opinion. Granted, I already knew that this ride was coming to Six Flags Over Texas. I knew that it was going to be a Giga coaster. I knew that it was going to be a dive coaster. But even though now that the ride is fully announced and we know everything about this coaster, the layout, the stats, the name, Tormenta. Ooh, I didn't know this was a lady dive coaster. Unfortunately, my opinion of this coaster still hasn't changed. Sorry, I hate to rain on anyone's parade who's actually excited for this coaster, and kudos to you if you are. Don't let my opinion spoil your fun. But I am just not a fan of these rides, especially with the newer dive coasters as of late. These are not good rides, they're not good products, and Six Flags and B&M should be ashamed of themselves for constructing such mediocre and rough ride models. Remember when Wrath of Rakshasa was announced for Six Flags Great America, and I was the vocal minority saying that I don't want this ride and I think it's a terrible fit for the park? Well, now, over a year later, after gaining hindsight, I now realize that I was completely right. And I am actually a fortune teller. Because yes, this ride was a terrible fit for Great America, but for even more reasons that I didn't even think about back then. Silly me for not taking into consideration that Rakshasa would be an insanely rough ride. Holy crap, this coaster is a headache-inducing machine. I've been on this thing over 10 plus times, and almost every single experience, I walked away with a headache. That shouldn't be the case for a new coaster. Rakshasa has a pothole problem. If you're not sitting on a seat that's towards the front and towards the middle of your row, then you are, for 100% certainty, gonna get your brain shaken. Rattle, rattle, rattle. That's the kind of experience you're gonna get on Rakshasa. How can a ride that opened in 2025 be rougher than a different B&M coaster that opened 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago? Batman the Ride, the second ever B&M, is wicked smooth. And Rakshasa, the newest B&M, feels like I'm in a goddamn paint shaker. This is not only one of the worst dive coasters I've ever been on, but it's also probably the worst B&M I've ever experienced. Don't say I haven't given this ride a chance. I've ridden it multiple times, and my opinion has not changed. I will, however, redact a previous statement of mine that I had in my initial video of Rakshasa. Yes, I no longer believe that this ride has a mediocre layout. I think it's quite serviceable for a dive coaster. However, the roughness of the ride still retracts from most of the enjoyment. Now, the reason why I bring Wrath of Rakshasa up is because this ride makes me worried. How is a 309-foot tall coaster going at 87 miles an hour gonna feel on a rough new dive coaster? It might actually be unbearable. The pothole and roughness issue has gotten so bad for B&M, so you can't really blame me for being worried. The last smooth B&M that was ever built has to be Candymonium over at Hershey Park, Iron Menace, Phoenix Rising, Reptera, Wrath of Rakshasa. All these newer coasters are rough. So will Tormenta be any different? Well, if this ride is the same case as Rakshasa, where only the middle seats in the front row is good, while every other seat in row funneling back is awful, then how can I in good consciousness say that this coaster will be a good quality product? Most of my hatred for dive coasters primarily stems from the newer models. I don't dislike rides like Shikra or Griffin. Those dives are actually fun. They are great supporting coasters that I can be on board with. But these newer models just keep stepping down in class. Not only because of the smoothness of these rides, but also because of the restraint type. I flat out hate the restraints on newer B&Ms. The vest is a constricting design that presses down on your pelvis, crushes your collarbones, and restricts you from feeling any of the forces on the ride. B&M how? How after 15 years since the vest was first introduced, how hasn't it improved? Vekoma figured out how to make a quality vest restraint, so why don't you follow suit? This is not the pinnacle in restraining technology. Please redo it, redesign it, or go back to your original over-the-shoulder restraints, because those were at least comfortable. I'm aware that I sound kind of harsh towards this ride, but we have been duped by B&M time and time again. We have seen one of the most premier manufacturers fall so hard in quality to the point where it's starting to get tiresome. And why do companies like Six Flags or previously Cedar Fair not have a problem with this dip in quality? If I had a park and I built a brand new coaster from this company and it turned out to be a rough ride than my previous B&M installations that have been running for decades, I would be a little pissed. Why isn't Six Flags more mad that their new coasters are rough? And worst of all, why does Six Flags still continue to buy from B&M? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I guess I'll buy even more product, if not the same product over and over again. It's getting old, it's getting frustrating, and I want there to be some kind of change. Either B&M, they get their act together, and they construct rides like they used to, or Six Flags, they just stop working with them. If B&M can't deliver a worthy product anymore, then there are more than enough other companies that can. Think about the opportunity that was lost when Six Flags decided to build a Giga dive coaster for Over Texas. A Giga coaster of any kind is not cheap. They're expensive. Over Texas, in theory, they could have gotten a Mack Rides Hyper Coaster, a Giga Multi-Launch, a traditional B&M Giga coaster. Sure, in some of these scenarios, the land would be a bit of an issue, but Six Flags has gotten creative before, they can do it again. The opportunity cost of picking a Giga dive coaster is baffling to me. Dive coasters are becoming way too oversaturated. They're going to every single park, and I'm sick of it. And for those of you in the comments who are saying that, oh, Six Flags Fiesta Texas is actually 300 miles away, so this dive coaster does have a reason to exist over here. No, it doesn't. Fiesta might be 300 miles away, but that's still the closest park to Over Texas. Most parks have a generous distance between one another. Very few are within a, 1 hour span? Is this truly the route we want to go down? Seeing a dive coaster open at every single park in America? Again, opportunity cost. So many other rides can be built in place of a dive coaster. Can we please just start to see a little more variety in the pot? Because this gene pool of new coasters is getting shallow. In terms of the actual ride experience of Tormenta, I have to say for a 300-foot dive, the layout is pretty standard. The 95-degree drop is cool, but uh-oh, it's only 285 feet. Sorry, Over Texas, I guess I've been using the word Giga too loose and free. I'll just put an asterisk over the word Giga. But after the not Giga length drop, the ride enters an Immelman, then a vertical loop, then another Immelman, this one stepping up into the mid-course, then there's a drop, another Immelman, and what looks to be a cutback. Okay, that's unique at least. I've never seen one of those on a dive coaster before. But after the cutback, that's it. The ride hits the brake run. It's not a short ride by any means. The coaster's over 4,200 feet. But the mix of elements, it's not too enthralling. I mean, 3 Immelmans? Are you kidding me? You know what? I'll give some more credit to Rakshasa's layout. At least that ride was more inventive. Overall, Tormenta, it's a ride that'll come and go for me. I'm not gonna make the pilgrimage all the way to Over Texas just for this ride alone. A dive coaster is never worth it to me, even if it is a Giga. Maybe if the ride turned out to be smooth, that would change things. But if a ride like Wrath of Rakshasa is anything to go by, then I highly doubt it. I predict that this ride will be rough. I don't even think this ride will be in the top 3 in the park. New Texas Giant, Mr. Freeze, even the Batman clone, I would probably take over Tormenta. But hey, if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. But if this ride truly is going to be like the other dive coasters that we've recently gotten in America, then sorry, I do not have high hopes for this thing.